Hi, my name's Sarah, and this is my sister Katie.
And we just want to remind everybody that girls like rock too. This Sunday is International Women's Day. Last year, if you've been following along with our podcast for International Women's Day, we did devote an entire episode to female musicians. We talked about iconic female leads.
That's right, we did, yes.
We discussed our favorite female lead singers. This year, again, Sarah and I talked about it. We were like, let's devote an entire episode to female musicians. And obviously, that's a broad topic. You can't just do a 40-minute topic for female musicians. It would have to be much longer than that.
Good to, yeah, for sure. Narrow it down a bit.
Yeah. And I started thinking, brainstorming about female musicians that I admire. And I started thinking, Sarah, there are a lot of good bassists out there that are women.
Yeah, when you mentioned this topic to celebrate International Women's Day, and I was thinking, I'm like, we do talk a lot about male bands, so it is nice to get some female content in here. When you mentioned the female bassists, right away I was like, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
And as you mentioned, I was thinking about it. I'm like, there are a lot of female bassists.
There are a lot of good female bassists out there.
There are, especially within like the time and the genre of what we talk about.
Yeah. The 90s, late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah, exactly.
When I started thinking even more about it, Sarah, the word that came to mind for me was badass.
Yeah.
These female bassists are badass. So I just went ahead, Sarah, and decided to call this episode Badass Female Bassists.
I love that. That's awesome. That's a great title.
Happy International Women's Day, everybody. Let's talk about these female bassists.
Let's do it. All right.
So, Sarah, I have 4 in mind that in particular I want to talk about. But you said you had a list. And you said that you read in other articles, there's a lot of acknowledgement of female bassists and how there's a lot of them out there.
Exactly. When I was just Googling this to get some information for today and prep myself a little bit for today's conversation, there were a few really great articles that mentioned that there are a disproportionate amount of bassists that are female in alternative rock music. And it's some of these, and I apologies, I can't remember the title or author of this one article, but kind of explored a bit like why is that? And there were just a few points where it's like men want to be like the lead guitarist or the drummer. It's more, it's seen as more like a male dominated instrument, whereas the bass, it's more like, because it's more of a support instrument, it's been almost kind of like feminized.
Okay. More subtle, more.
Yeah, exactly. Support. Yeah, exactly. But there was also another point, which I thought was interesting, that apparently women in general start playing an instrument later than men. So men typically will start playing an instrument like around 13, whereas a woman, the general age is like 17.
Okay.
And the bass is a bit, quote unquote, easier to play. I don't know. Yeah, that's what it's. But is that just said because more women are playing it, right? It's like a bit more of an accessible instrument. Also, it's, I guess, because more men are like guitarists and drummers, it's more in demand being a bassist. So they're thinking maybe that's why women gravitate toward it for these reasons. Having said all that, I was also just thinking, I can't speak for any of these women, of course, but maybe they just liked the instrument.
Yeah.
Maybe they just picked it up.
Good point. Touche, Sarah. Touche.
They just thought, you know what, this is cool. And I mean, we all know if you're into alternative rock music, the bass player, it's an important part of the whole band experience. I mean, you really help with the foundation of the sound of whatever band you're in and the vibe as well.
Yeah. It's an important piece of the puzzle.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
So I don't these were interesting points, but I also just wanted to mention that. And on the flip side to that, for female bassists in a more male dominated profession and a male band, maybe the band was just like, oh, hey, this is a really good musician. She jives well with us. We have good musicianship and chemistry. Want to join our band? Like, it could just be that as well, right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I think we're thinking too, or not us in general, but these critics and music journalists are thinking a little bit too hard.
Exactly. Yeah, maybe a little bit. I was just thinking really great articles and some really good points, but I'm also like, yeah, maybe she just is like, I just want to try out this instrument. Right. And there's a lot of really great male bassists too. So,
Yeah. I think there's also some, I don't know if in particular any of the ones I'm talking about today, it's the case, but they play like the cello when they're young. And then they get older or like a bass
yeah.
orchestra instrument. And then when they're older, they're like, oh no, I want to do rock music. So then they play the guitar bass.
That's a really good point, Katie. Yeah, that's true too. Yeah, there's some similarities to that.
Yeah.
And I know bass, you think usually 4 strings. So, it's easier. But there are actually 5 and 6 string bassists as
and
well.
they're longer.
Oh, yeah. No, exactly.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's still
just as many notes to play.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I came across a few lists of female bassists because there are quite a few. And I just wanted to acknowledge, because I know we're diving deeper into some that you wanted to highlight, which is great. But there's just 6 I just wanted to mention and acknowledge. So some notable female bass players: Tina Weymouth from Talking Heads. That's
cool.
Yeah. Gail Ann Dorsey, who is a session musician and toured with David Bowie for like a decade. And she also toured with Tears for Fears.
Oh, wow. Cool.
Yeah. And I guess did some recordings with other musicians. Debbie Gooch, apologies if I'm mispronouncing that last name, bass player for My Bloody Valentine. And cool. She's also worked with Primal Scream.
Oh, wow.
Which I thought was really cool. Yeah. Kim Deal, who doesn't really need much of an introduction.
Everybody knows. Yeah.
Yeah, as cool as Kim Deal. Kate O'Riordan from the Pogues, which is super cool.
Wow.
I didn't know they had a female bass player, and she's also worked with Elvis Costello. And just a shout out to a Canadian, Rhonda Smith, who played and toured with Prince for over a decade.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and also worked with Jeff Beck, Erykah Badu, and Beyonce.
Oh, wow.
Which is really neat.
That's impressive.
Yeah. So just wanted to mention those bass players. I just thought that was really neat when I was getting down the rabbit hole of
so many
bass players. Yeah. Very cool. Yeah.
And Sarah hasn't even touched base on the ones on the ones I want to dive deeper into today.
No, that's right. We have some more that we're going to spotlight today.
We're going to spotlight. I'm going to start my list with someone who is more recent than some of these other women we've talked about.
Okay.
And as Sarah and I have mentioned before in past episodes, we don't rank people, so I'm not ranking these women.
Yeah, I did not rank.
The
women
I just want to talk about them, and I'm kind of just picking a random order. Maybe they kind of go one into the other. Let's see as we start talking. But I wanted to start with Jordan Miller. Jordan Miller is the bassist for The Beaches.
That's so cool. I mean, we're quite vocal. We're huge fans of The Beaches.
I was going to say, Sarah, if you've been following along with our podcast, you'll know that I've mentioned The Beaches quite a bit.
Yeah.
And I admire them. I think they're cool. All-girl group. They're a Canadian group. And Jordan Miller, she is not only the bassist, Sarah, but she is also the lead singer of The Beaches.
Oh, that's so cool. I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
So I think that's really cool. She's one of the first that came to mind for me when we wanted to talk about badass female bassists, because Jordan, you are badass. And I mean that in all the good ways. I love you. So The Beaches, they have been around for a while. They actually did form in 2009, but it wasn't until their 2023 album, Blame My Ex, that I feel like they really became a prominent band in the Canadian music scene. Even prior to 2023, and I believe I mentioned this before, Sarah, I have a soft spot for The Beaches because I remember hearing them on the local alternative rock station, FM 96, years ago. I remember in particular the songs T-Shirt and Blow Up. And I always thought they were cool. I remember thinking, like, how cool is it, an all-girl band? You just don't see that much anymore.
No, you really don't.
Yeah. And they just have a sound, and I mean, they're Canadian, so I love that too.
For sure. So
then in 2023, I remember hearing they're coming out with some new music. And I remember hearing Blame Brett, which is one of the first singles off that album. And I remember thinking, Sarah, hearing Blame Brett, like, these guys are going to get bigger. They're going to
Yeah,
go
it's a good
beyond it
song.
from 96 because this is
Yeah.
a really good song.
Yeah.
And then sure enough, Blame Brett and the album Blame My Ex, it's gotten them Junos. It's gotten them in some American alternative rock charts. It's
Yeah.
even gotten them some endorsements like Converse sneakers.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So they've really made a name for themselves.
Yes. They opened up for the Rolling Stones, I think.
They opened up for the Rolling Stones. And I remember even before Sarah Blame My Ex came out, there was an interview with them. And I think it was Jordan. She said that Elton John caught wind of them and like actually commented that he liked their music.
Wow.
So
that is really cool.
So they have something about them. They have a star quality about them. The
they
Beaches.
do. They do.
They're really, I find them easily lovable. They're just fun.
Yeah.
They're good musicians.
Yeah. And the music's great.
And the music's great.
Yeah.
Now, I want to talk about bassists today. So let's kind of dive more into Jordan. I really like Jordan because I've talked about this before when we talked about Canadian music. So Blame Brett. Brett is actually Brett Emmons from the Glorious Sons.
Yeah. Yeah, you told me about that.
She went through a pretty rough breakup with Brett. And what I admire about her is she used this breakup to make just some really good music.
Yeah. Yeah, breakups will do that.
Yeah, breakups will do that.
Yeah.
And I love it. Blame Brett also, you know the song. You're familiar with the song.
Yeah.
When you first listen to it, you can kind of be like, "Ugh, like that's a burn to this Brett guy. Like she's kind of insulting him." But what I think is really cool about Jordan is she said in an interview that he actually isn't supposed to be the villain. She said she's actually supposed to be the villain in the song, and she's kind of just poking fun. And she said this song, it's not about berating Brett and saying he's a bad guy. It's more just kind of a heads up apology to her future partners, explaining this is why I have these issues that I have.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't realize that. Yeah.
I thought that was cool. And Jordan Miller, she probably is the only bassist out of my four that I'm going to talk more about today that grew up in the age of Instagram. She's the only one that's younger than me. So it's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
And maybe I just sound like an old fart, but I love following her Instagram. Her style is just so cool.
Yeah, no, the Beaches, I mean, their style is. Yeah.
Yeah. And Jordan just has a real like IDGAF attitude, really. And and she's also not afraid to poke fun at herself.
Yeah, that's always a great quality.
It is a great quality. So Jordan, I had to include you on my list because you're just cool and kind of fun to add someone with a little bit more younger blood in them to my list. So I just wanted to add Jordan. So Sarah, we're going to move along from a more modern bassist. By modern, I mean younger, to someone who's been around for a while. But Sarah, she's also a Canadian girl.
Oh, okay.
Do you know who I'm going to mention?
I think so.
Red hair. Our red hair Raven Beauty.
She is a Raven Beauty.
Melissa Aud der Maur.
Melissa Aud der Maur.
Melissa Aud der Maur. I feel about Melissa what I feel about Shirley Manson. I just feel like, Melissa, honey, you can do no wrong.
Oh, she is just such an amazing artist and musician. And it just seemed like person just watching some of her interviews.
Yeah. Melissa Aud der Maur, she's from Montreal. So, again, like I said, a Canadian girl. And she's been around for a while.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So she went to Concordia University. If you're from Canada, you're probably familiar. That's in Montreal. And she was in a band called Tinker.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
I hadn't heard of them.
No, I just read about that when I read up on her.
Yeah. So she was in Tinker and Concordia. And then in 1994, she was asked to be in a band called Hole.
Yeah.
With a little well-known other female musician called Courtney Love.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that is crazy. Initially, Melissa declined. I didn't realize this. So she initially declined the offer to join Hole because,
really? Okay.
Yeah, well, it wasn't a great time for the band. So Hole's bassist, Kristen, and I apologize if I'm saying the name wrong, Kristen Paff, she died of a drug overdose at the age of 27.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I think Melissa turned it down because she's like, that's not really a great circumstance to join a band.
Yeah.
But eventually she did. She did join the band later in 1994. What I thought was cool about Melissa is I always thought she had a cool vibe, a
Oh,
cool
yeah.
laid back vibe.
Yeah.
And apparently the band's guitarist, Eric Erlandson, the guitarist from Hole, he described Melissa as bringing sunshine to the band during the dark and gray atmosphere of the Live Through This tour.
Wow, that's
what a
lovely.
nice way to be described as it.
Yeah,
bringing sunshine
really.
to the band.
Gosh.
It was a pretty tumultuous tour considering it was 1994, so they lost their bassist to a drug overdose. Also, of course, Kurt Cobain killed himself right before the release of Live Through This. So I don't think it was a particularly light and fun tour.
Yeah.
But it seems like
definitely.
Melissa was kind of the glue that held the group together, which is really cool. And I read that she's often seen as quote unquote the cool one, which I can totally see. Melissa, she also came out with solo work in the early 2000s. I don't know if you remember, Sarah, her album Aud der Maur.
I do remember that she
2004?
had,
Yeah.
some solo work. Yeah. Yeah.
So she released in 2004. This is the height of my alternative rock love. So I do remember listening to the album thinking it was really good. And I first got into Melissa Aud der Maur, not actually from Hole. I was really into the Smashing Pumpkins.
Yes.
I got really into them after Rotten Apples was released, their compilation after they broke up initially. So I always thought Melissa was cool. I was I was really into Darcy Wretzky, which I'll talk about a little bit later in the episode. But I did think Melissa was cool.
Oh, yeah. I've always liked Melissa Aud der Maur.
Yeah, she played with the Pumpkins during their the Machines of God tour.
Yes.
And she was in the music videos. She didn't actually play bass on that album, but she was in the videos for the album.
And she toured for that.
She toured for that. Yeah. She toured. She did their final shows when they broke up in 2000.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And just a cool vibe.
Yeah, I was thinking of Melissa Aud der Maur, and I don't know Hole or Smashing Pumpkins all that well, but just thinking of her as a talented musician and having that, because that's huge. Like, you're in these two huge bands that were already established, especially Smashing Pumpkins.
Oh, they were very established.
Yeah, at that point. And I know it kind of made me think of like Gem Archer and Andy Bell that entered Oasis. Like, you enter this in like super established, huge band. How do you do this? But Melissa Aud der Maur, she did it seamlessly.
She very seamlessly.
And I think it's just a lot of talent and skill as a musician to have that flexibility. And I thought she complemented the Smashing Pumpkins really well and how
really
she
well.
could, right?
Yeah.
And helped shape Hole too.
Yeah, she did.
Because Celebrity Skin, she was a part of that.
She was.
And
She's
that
all the
was
videos. And
huge,
she was
all
a
the
part of, yeah,
videos.
the
I just
recording for
remember
that.
her in the videos.
Yeah.
And always thinking, she had such a presence to her.
Yeah. And it kind of goes together. She was friends with Billy Corgan for a really long time.
Okay.
And then Billy Corgan dated Courtney Love in the early 90s. And then Billy Corgan helped write music for Celebrity Skin. So it kind of made sense that eventually he's like, hey, join my band, the Smashing Pumpkins. And she did.
Yeah.
And Melissa had big shoes to fill. I think there were a lot of fangirls of Darcy Wretzky out there, their original bassist.
Yes.
But she did it well.
Yeah, exactly.
And she did it with class.
Yeah, she did.
She
did, like, in a respectful way.
Yeah.
From her former,
she's
former bandmate.
just a classy Canadian chick.
She is.
She co-founded an art center in Hudson, New York. Did you read about that?
With her husband or something?
I don't know if it was her husband. It was another
maybe
musician.
that was someone else. Okay.
And it's called Basilica Hudson. It's housed in a solar-powered, reclaimed 1880s industrial factory. I got this from their website.
Cool.
So they're a nonprofit, multidisciplinary art center in Hudson, New York. And they welcome over 20,000 visitors each season to genre-pushing music festivals, large-scale marketplace events, film screenings, an artist in residency program.
Wow.
And a new weekly concert art series in the gallery building. So again, I got this from their website. And she co-founded this in 2010. Oh yeah, not with her husband, with independent filmmaker Tony Stone.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
And she's still a member of the board of directors today. So she's still doing it. 12, like, no, I was gonna say 12, 16 years later.
That is so cool. I was going to say at the AGO, it's the Art Gallery of Ontario, she's going to have like artwork, not artwork, sorry,
photography.
but photography from her time, I think, in Hole and maybe Smashing Pumpkins. And I was like,
we'll have to go to that.
Yeah, it opens, I think, in the fall. And I'm like, oh, she's a photographer too.
Oh,
Like,
this
just,
woman does everything.
yeah.
She's just like, she is just so cool. So yeah, I had
That's
to.
really neat.
I wrote in my notes, Sarah, that like she checks off all my lists of being a badass female bassist. Like she knows how to play bass well. She's got this really cool IDGAF attitude, but she's also been described as like chill numerous times. And
Yeah.
another thing about her that I started thinking about, and then sure enough, when I read up more on her, other critics have pointed out too, is she was able to get along, Sarah, with both Courtney Love and Billy Corgan. And they are not easy personalities to get along with, from what I hear.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
the fact that she was able to get along with both and with both bands she left on her own terms. The Smashing Pumpkins ended, but I believe she was offered a spot when they reformed in 2007, and she said no thank you. So both times she left bands on her own terms. So I just think that says a lot about her to get along with those strong personalities.
Yeah.
That really shows the like that she's the epitome of like chillness.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, because being in a band, and we've mentioned this before, it's like a family.
Yeah.
And just that complex relationship to get
Oh,
along.
it is a family. Yeah.
Like, and you're right, Courtney Love and Billy Corgan, they're obviously very talented musicians and everything.
Oh, for sure.
Right? But I'm sure big personalities, maybe a bit of ego there as well.
Oh.
And like the main people in that band. So to work with that and also work with it and support it too, right? Yeah, that would be challenging. One thing with Melissa Aud der Maur, I watched like, it was like a 10-year-old interview for Fender, like just talking about her instruments. And she was like, she's only played like bass, like she's very committed to it. And I just loved how she said she has a mystical relationship with her instruments.
I could so see her saying that.
Yeah, I was like, that's pretty cool.
Oh, she is like, yeah, she is just the epitome of cool. So Sarah, speaking of epitome of cool, who do we have to talk about next?
With that description, I'm going to say Kim Gordon.
Oh, Kim Gordon.
I put in my notes innovative, and we throw around the word iconic a lot on this podcast.
We do. It's an overdone word on our part. However,
but
she is iconic.
Iconic.
Yeah.
And I remember when you mentioned we have to talk about Kim Gordon. Oh. I don't know a ton of Kim Gordon's music, and I never really got into Sonic Youth, but I've always just loved her. And I remember thinking for this podcast, I'm like, I don't want to be like gushing, but I kind of am.
Yeah.
But it's funny because a couple of weeks ago, Kim Gordon guest starred on Questlove, I don't know if it's his podcast or like a YouTube channel.
Okay, yes.
But he has big names, of course, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, perfect. We're going to do an episode and include Kim Gordon. And it's almost like Questlove was kind of gushing. Like he was like, oh, you're just amazing. And
she's just cool.
Yeah. And he kind of just said that. And she's just kind of there. And she laughed. She's like, well, I don't really talk too much, so I think that's why people think I'm cool. Yeah. Which I'm like,
which makes you even more cool.
Yeah. She was just so humble.
Humble and is I'm a great word for Kim Gordon.
God, you're cool.
Yeah. It's funny, Sarah, that you mentioned that, because I actually wrote in my notes that I'll be honest that prior to this episode, I didn't know a ton about Kim Gordon.
Yeah.
My first memory of Kim Gordon, Sarah, was the episode of The Simpsons called Homer Palooza. Where Homer goes to, it's not Lollapalooza, they call it Hullapalooza, but he goes there and he meets both Sonic Youth and Smashing Pumpkins. So that was kind of my intro to Kim Gordon. And even on The Simpsons, I remember thinking, man, who's this cool blonde chick?
Well, and as I mentioned, never really got into the music, but she was always there.
Yeah.
Like part of if you're into alternative music, and maybe for us being a woman in music, she kind of stood out. Like, part of the cultural zeitgeist of 90s rock music. Like,
yeah. And what I think is cool about Kim, among many things, but I feel like she kind of made it, Sarah, like feminism's a funny thing. There's a lot of different variations of feminism, and sometimes there's a belief where you can't look sexy because that's not feminist.
Right.
But Kim kind of made it that you can be a feminist icon and still be sexy and still wear dresses on stage and still be into fashion. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, I do know what you mean. it's funny you say that because I was thinking of Kim Gordon and Melissa Aud der Maur in particular. The way they like just presented themselves and their appearance was very like their own, but a little bit quote unquote feminine.
Yeah.
But just in their own terms.
Yeah.
And like you said, I just, but respected as like musicians, not as, oh, they're attractive women.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Yeah, and Sarah and I, even on our last episode for International Women's Day, we kind of talked about this, how in the early 2000s, we had all these pop princesses being sexy, but it didn't feel like they were being sexy for themselves like it was with the Spice Girls. It felt like they were being sexy to sell records and for the male gaze.
Yeah. Definitely.
But
yeah. And kind of told by like the record label.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But Kim Gordon and Melissa Aud der Maur and now Jordan Miller in more modern days, they're just sexy because they are, and that's just who they are.
And kind of continuing with that, I had this in my notes for the intro for today's episode, thinking about just women in music, women in rock music. Quite often when you think of a woman in music, pop music or rock music, you think singer.
Yes.
And like, oh, you have to have a pretty face and wear a pretty dress and sing. And I think like Kim Gordon, Melissa Aud der Maur, among others, created this space in the rock world where you could be a woman in music and be respected for your like how you present yourself, for your look, like how you.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say looks like, oh, your face, but your overall identity as a musician, your appearance, right? And in a rock band, how you look can be important for men or women, right? For all musicians. So they cared about how they physically looked and presented, but they did it, as I mentioned, on their own terms and also really well respected as musicians.
Very well respected as musicians. Yeah, Kim Gordon, she started Sonic Youth in 1981.
Gosh, wow.
I know. And she started it with Thurston Moore, who she eventually did get married to in 1984. And I didn't realize till not that long ago that they actually divorced.
I didn't know that either. Yeah.
No. And then, like Melissa Aud der Maur, she came out with a book after the divorce. And not that we need to talk about her personal life, but I just found out so many cool things about her researching for this episode. Like, Sarah, did you know that she went to York University in Toronto for a while?
Oh, I didn't know that.
No, I didn't know that. She said, though, that she couldn't handle the cold winters in Canada because she did grow up mostly in California. So.
Okay, I did write that. Yeah, it's different for sure.
That's fair enough. I'm glad that you tried Canada out, Kim, though. That's really cool.
Very cool.
And I had no idea, and this kind of goes back to some of the earlier stuff we've talked about this episode, Sarah, but she produced Hole's first album.
Wow.
Yeah. I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah, she produced Hole's album, Pretty on the Inside. And apparently, after signing to their record label, Courtney Love, she wanted Kim Gordon to produce their album because she really liked Kim Gordon. So she wrote her a letter with a Hello Kitty barrette, copies of the band's early single, and she just mentioned how much she greatly admired Kim Gordon. And what's really cool about Kim is she was like, okay, I'll produce it, but she did want it's a band called Gumball. She wanted the frontman of that band, Don Fleming, to assist.
Okay. Wow, that's so cool.
This is so women supporting women because Hole, like, they weren't even that big in 1991.
I was going to say, yeah, she's really like taking a chance to take that time.
Yeah.
Because at that point, I think Sonic Youth had a bit of a name for themselves.
Sonic Youth were a big name at this point. They had come out with Daydream Nation, Teenage Riot. That was their 5th album. So they were really well known. Courtney Love, she was starting to make a name for herself at this point, but she wasn't the Courtney Love that we all know today. So
yeah,
I just think that says a lot about Kim to read this letter and be like, you know what? Okay, I'll help produce.
Yeah. Just creating that entry point for more women in that artistic space. That's so cool. And reading up on these musicians, Melissa Aud der Maur has noted that Kim Gordon was an inspiration for her.
Yes.
And her music, which is cool.
It all goes together, eh?
Yeah.
And also, again, didn't know this about Kim Gordon. She has a fashion line called X Girl. She started it in 1993. So for fun, I looked it up. And Sarah, they still sell stuff to this day. They don't have a ton on their website in terms of inventory and selection, but still, like, she still has a fashion label.
Oh, that's so neat.
Yeah.
I watched a clip after watching her with Questlove because I haven't really watched too many clips of Kim Gordon. I watched her, I guess she was at Glastonbury a number of years ago, and she just had, I don't know, just such a cool vibe to her on stage.
Yeah. She's a really cool performer.
Yeah. And I didn't realize she's 72 now.
Well, it's funny. I was going to mention this in my notes, and I was like, oh, is age really that important?
I know. Me too.
She was already 27 when Sonic Youth just formed, which
cool.
back in the day for rock and roll stars, 27 was, you were getting up there.
Yeah. Yeah. I know by then. I just, again, I don't want to sound, but I just, on Questlove, she was so, just had a vibe about her and her own like energy and youthfulness. And then I was like, oh, this woman's 72. She looks fantastic.
She does look fantastic. She does.
Yeah, it's just so cool.
She's lived quite a life.
Yeah, I will be gushing. Total girl crush for sure. And just like not flashy.
No, not flashy at all. Yeah. I'm going to end this episode with someone who maybe she doesn't have the longevity that some of these other females do that we've talked about, but I always just thought she was so cool. And like, I just loved her back in the day.
Yeah.
Sarah, who am I going to talk about?
Darcy Wretzky.
Darcy effing Wretzky. What a cool chick.
You always loved her. I remember way
Wretzky.
back. You were a huge fan of her.
I was always intrigued that the Smashing Pumpkins had a female bassist.
My notes for Smashing Pumpkins was a woman in a band and representation matters because Iha and Wretzky, I wasn't a big Smashing Pumpkins listener.
No.
But as a little girl, that always stood out for me. I'm like, this is so cool. A woman and an Asian man in a rock band.
Yeah.
And they were always like in the music videos, in the photos.
Yeah.
Like they really helped shape the identity of the Smashing Pumpkins.
Oh, they did. Oh, the Smashing Pumpkins. We've yet to do a full episode on them, Sarah, but we have to because love them or not, they are just such an iconic again, but they're an iconic band.
They are.
And we mentioned it with Depeche Mode. I've yet to find another band, Sarah, that sounds like Smashing Pumpkins.
Yeah.
I can't.
Yeah. And Darcy Wretzky helped, and my notes again I have, helped shape the sound.
Yeah.
Their look too.
Oh,
like
their look, their
appearance.
vibe, their attitude.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so as we talked about when we discussed Courtney Love and Melissa Aud der Maur, Billy Corgan, he's not an easy guy to get along with.
I can imagine not.
I'm not saying this from a personal note. I don't know the man, but everything I've read, he's a very strong personality. And sometimes when you're just a genius, whether it's music or other things, I think you're just you're so caught up in your own world that you're just hard to get along with.
Yep.
And
definitely.
Billy Corgan's one of them. So unfortunately, Billy and Darcy had a very tumultuous relationship from beginning to end. The whole story is they met at a concert. They disagreed because I think he didn't like the band and she did, or vice versa.
Okay.
Got into a big argument, and he's like, you know what? You have the attitude. I want you in my band. And sure enough, she did join the band, and the rest is history. And it's funny, though, reading up on just how they didn't get along. And what I really think is cool about Darcy is she was one of the few people that would like actually stand up to Billy Corgan.
That is really cool.
Yeah. So her and James Iha, who you also mentioned from the Pumpkins, Darcy and James went out for many years. They broke up during the recording of Siamese Dream.
Oh, I didn't know they went out.
Yeah. Yeah, they dated.
Okay.
They broke up, though, had a pretty bad breakup during the recording of Siamese Dream. And legend has it, James would kind of try to get them along, getting along so they could record. And she would say, like, who died and made Billy Corgan God? I'm like, Darcy, you're so cool to just say that. And just reading interviews and seeing her in interviews, I could just totally see that from her. And similar to Kim Gordon, Darcy was just sexy, but she wasn't being sexy to sell records or to get guys to look at her, which she did manage to do both, by the way. But she was just sexy. Like, that was just her.
I love how you say sexy, because when I think of Kim Gordon, Melissa Aud der Maur, and Darcy Wretzky. I think sexy.
Oh,
Yeah.
watch Sarah go down the rabbit hole of old Smashing Pumpkins videos. Just she had such a style.
Yeah.
That bleach blonde hair, the bullet with butterfly wings. She's wearing that little metallic skirt. The Adore video, she's got this long blonde hair, and she's just so. She is for me, not the original badass, but for my little musical journey, she was the original badass for me.
Oh, yeah. She was one of the first female in music that you were like, wow, this is really cool.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. So unfortunately, like I mentioned, the others had longevity. She didn't so much have longevity in terms of music career. She said that the music career just wasn't healthy for her, so she got out of the scene. Not much has been said about her.
I was going to say, keeps a pretty low profile.
Yeah, she randomly, I think it was like 2009, she randomly popped up on a radio show. She called in and talked a bit to the DJs then.
Wow. Okay.
And then when the Pumpkins came out with the tour, the one that I actually saw them on, the 2018 Shiny and Oh So Bright tour, there was rumblings she was going to come back. Billy Corgan said they were on good terms. She said, no, we're not. He said, we asked you to come back. You didn't want to. She's like, no, that's not what happened. And apparently she did share screenshots of text messages proving her point that she was right. So all of this being said, this is all drama and all he said, she said stuff. But yeah, I guess she lives a quaint life on a farm in Michigan somewhere. She really likes horseback riding.
Okay.
I've seen a few pictures of her on Reddit that are more recent. She's looking fairly good. I hope she's doing better. I know fame and being involved in the music world, that's not for everybody.
No, definitely. I mean, I think we've mentioned that it must be just so hard. You grow up, quote unquote, normal, and then you get into this world where it's like the cool factor of music and the money. Yeah. So different, especially the 90s. It just seemed like party after party.
It was the 90s was about drugs, alcohol, and I think she did have a drug problem, and she said that being in the Smashing Pumpkins really increased her anxiety, but she had wanted to leave sooner than she did, but people were like, oh, don't let you're letting a lot of fans down, you're letting a lot of musicians down, like keep it up. But ultimately Billy Corgan said she was kicked out of the band for being a mean-spirited drug addict.
Oh, okay.
So the nice guy that Billy Corgan is, that's what he said. So Darcy, I hope you're doing well now. If you're listening, which you're probably not, but if you're listening, Darcy, I would love you to randomly come up on our podcast. And I would just love to just praise you for the amazing bassist that you were and just the amazing female icon you were, because in the 90s we did have women coming out, but it was still a male dominated industry, let's be honest.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
So it was really cool to have these pockets of women pop up in the 90s, like Melissa Aud der Maur, Darcy Wretzky and the Smashing Pumpkins, Courtney Love, even, again, love her or hate her, she did make female musicians just more known in the 90s.
Yeah, definitely. No, that mid 90s there was a period where there were a lot of women coming up. Shirley Manson.
Yeah, Shirley Manson, Veruca Salt. They
were
really cool.
Yeah, they were cool. Yes. Yeah, it just seemed like there was a time, and again, these women they were kind of like celebrating their sexuality, but on their terms.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Which was really
sexy
cool.
on their own terms.
Yeah, yeah. Darcy Wretzky, she kind of always popped out, maybe because you talked about her a lot, but just thinking of that she was like a woman in an all-male band, but it wasn't like a lot of women like Riot Girl and all of that. It was more like the indie scene, like, it's a woman band, but they play in that smaller venue. Yeah. But Darcy Wretzky, like, she's in this huge band that's
one of the biggest bands in the world.
Yeah, selling out huge stadiums and probably going to award shows. Melancholy, huge album. Yeah. And she was a part of that. Yeah. She was there. Yeah. And as I mentioned, she was a big part of like even just photos and magazine covers. Just really, really neat.
Oh, yeah. I remember I have such fond memories of getting the Rotten Apples compilation. And I've talked about the story before where I bought it for you. You didn't like it. So then I took it over. And Sarah, I remember to this day looking through the leaflet. And the leaflet, if any of you remember out there, it was just a bunch of old like magazine pictures and just old pictures of the Pumpkins. And I just remember just being like, my mind is blown. This band and this woman are just so cool. Thank you, everybody, for listening to this episode. We hope that it inspired you, or it inspires you on Sunday, and not just Sunday, not just International Women's Day, any day of the year, but maybe on Sunday in particular, to listen to some of these musicians and pick up a copy of Melissa Aud der Maur's book when it comes out, and maybe dabble through Kim Gordon's book that came out.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Katie and I want to say a huge thank you for your time. We really appreciate it. Let us know in the comments some badass women in music or some female bassists.
Yes, because we know there's more than just the ones we mentioned today.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Katie and I post a new full episode every other Friday. The podcast is currently available on Spotify and YouTube.
And we just want to remind everybody that
girls like rock too.
And don't forget to hit subscribe.